Alright fellas, now what does everyone love in boxing? A solid underdog story. Who doesn't love to see a boxer who no one gives a chance of winning somehow get the win in the biggest of matches, resulting in a shake-up of boxing as a whole? Also, what do most people love? Winning a lot of money after putting some money on said underdog. So inspired by Ryan Garcia's plus 500 odds big win a week ago, I want to look at some of the biggest and most notable underdog upsets over the last 10 to 15 years. Now the first fight I want to talk about was Klitschko versus Tyson Fury. Now Fury has been the underdog on several occasions, and the most notable of them all came when he was a plus 325 underdog against Vladimir Klitschko. In the build-up of the fight, many just didn't think Fury stood a chance. At the time, Klitschko was a super long reigning champ, with his last loss before this coming over 12 years prior. Fury wound up Klitschko in the build-up of the fight and continued to add chaos even days prior, complaining about things such as the amount of sponge material on the canvas of the ring. On fight night, Klitschko couldn't figure out Fury's awkward and unpredictable style and was simply outboxed over 12 rounds, handing Fury his first world titles of his career and making a lot of money for the punter. Following in the heavyweight division, another massive upset was Anthony Joshua being defeated by Andy Ruiz Jr. Ruiz was seen as an easy opponent put there to waste time as Wilder and Fury faced off, with the obvious hope by Eddie Hearn was that Joshua would face the winner of Fury Wilder. Ruiz wasn't a first choice opponent, with them going through Dylan White, Jarrell Miller, and Luis Ortiz before Ruiz would eventually step up as AJ's opponent. So Ruiz would be coming in as a plus 1,125 underdog against Anthony Joshua. Nobody saw any possibility of Ruiz winning the fight, and many casual fans, this was the first time they really got introduced to Ruiz. Like, look at him compared to AJ. There's no chance of him winning the fight, right? Well, a 7th round TKO victory surprised the world and made Ruiz a world champion. Post-fight, there were many comparisons compared to the level of upset that Douglas had over Tyson, but just to mention again, Ruiz was a 25-1 underdog and is one of the all-time underdog stories, and I wish I would have bet on him. Moving on, the next fight I want to mention is Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. Now in 2020 when this fight happened, Lomachenko was considered one of the best fighters in the world. He was high up on pound for pound lists and seemed close to unbeatable. But along came Teofimo Lopez, the arrogant, Fortnite celebrating young boxer who managed to previously capture the IBF title after a TKO win against Richard Commey. This fight would be for a title unification. At the time, Teo was a plus 300 underdog. Most saw Lopez's chance in him being the bigger and stronger fighter, and if he landed a punch, he could shake the Ukrainian, but no one saw Lopez winning by a clear decision, becoming unified champ. Coming off this absolutely huge upset, comedically Lopez would somewhat fall victim of his own hype, leading to another major upset. Lopez after the Loma fight would be scheduled to fight George Kambosos, a barely known about Australian fighter whose biggest win to this point was against Lee Selby, and only a couple fights before this fight, he was fighting in Greece. The lead up to this fight was absolutely insane, and if you want to hear more about it, please see my earlier video on it. But in summary, multiple cancelled dates, multiple promoters, crazy COVID drama, and then finally the fight happened. Kambosos would be entering the ring as a plus 600 underdog. Once the fight started, Lopez was looking past Kambosos and didn't really see him as a threat, thinking he was going to knock him down at any moment, resulting in himself getting dropped in the first. But Kambosos would go on to win a split decision in a pretty convincing win for the Australian. Following with Australian fighters, I want to talk about a very controversial but still massive underdog story on when Jeff Horn took on Manny Pacquiao. Horn was seen as a plus 400 underdog going into this fight. Horn, previous to this fight, hadn't really fought anyone with a name and wasn't known internationally. He managed to get Pacquiao down to Brisbane for the fight, where he would go on to defeat Manny by a very controversial unanimous decision, claiming the world title and shaking up the division, securing him a few big fights in the future. Another large upset came in the hands of Sandor Martin against Mikey Garcia. Garcia, the 4-division world champ, took the Martin fight as a sort of stay busy opponent, waiting for a bigger opportunity. Martin had never competed outside of Europe and not really against any elite competition. Mikey Garcia was aiming for a bout with Regis Prograis, and Martin was a small inconvenience on this path. Sandor Martin came into this fight as a plus 1,240 underdog, an absolutely huge betting underdog. Martin would go on to upset Garcia, scoring a majority decision in Garcia's home country, outclassing Mikey Garcia across 10 rounds to claim the victory. Abner Mares in 2013 so far had gone undefeated and was seen as one of Golden Boy Promotions' biggest upcoming stars to this point. They were lining up a fight with Leo Santa Cruz, yet in the way was a fighter named Johnny Gonzalez. Gonzalez would state that they were treating him like a stepping stone and that Santa Cruz plans were already in the works before the fight. Prior to the fight, Gonzalez would be sitting at 9-1 odds and look like a significant underdog. Yet Johnny would have the last laugh, putting on an absolute clinic, stunning Abner, knocking him out in the first round to take home the WBC World Featherweight title and shake up the division, sending Abner on a much longer path to eventually verse Leo Santa Cruz and become world champion again. The bout I mentioned at the beginning of the video was probably the most recent example of a betting underdog upset. Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney was a bout which most people saw going Haney's way, but a lot of people also saw it going Ryan's way. But the bookmaker saw it with a plus 500 underdog. As we all know, Garcia would end up winning by unanimous decision after knocking Haney down a few times, with Garcia even betting on himself, taking home a healthy check in the process. That was just a few of the major underdog betting upsets of the last decade. I might in the future make a video about the biggest of all time, but let me know what was your favourite, did you win money on any of these matches, or just any thoughts at all. But just quickly, if you've never heard of me, my name is Cloister. I make boxing and fight sport related content, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'd really appreciate if you consider subscribing or liking, and I'll catch you in the next one.